Welcome to Undiet Your Coaching Podcast. I'm Stephanie Dodier, clinical nutritionist and creator of the Going to Beyond the Food method, and I'm on a mission to help all coaches undiet their life and their coaching business. Ready? Let's do this. Welcome to the podcast, Nadine.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited. I'm excited to be talking about you, be talking about a hormonal practice and how you are using the non-diet approach in your practice. I'm curious. So this episode is me being curious. So you guys are coming along with me on this journey of being curious. Nadine was studying with me 6 months ago, a year ago?
6 months ago.
Yeah, 6 months ago. So it's been 4 months after the training has ended. So I was curious to go back and to see how the application of the non-diet approach worked out for you. But what I want to do for people listening to this is set the tone, introduce yourself, what you do, and how you became interested or where that you wanted to bring the non-diet approach into your life and your practice. Can you set that picture for us?
Yes. Okay. So I'm Nadine. I am a women's health and hormone nutritionist, and I work with women primarily when they feel that they have hormonal issues and whatnot. And so the reason why I wanted to get into the non-diet approach was because very quickly I realized that giving someone a meal plan wasn't working. It just was not working. And I realized that whenever I would give someone recommendations, it was as if all of a sudden a wall went up and they didn't want to. And so I was just getting curious. I was noticing these things and I was like, something is not right, right? And so I quickly realized that people assumed that healing was related to restriction. And that's not what I wanted to teach or to portray at all. And I had made the realizations that diet culture has infiltrated the health and wellness space, and so many recommendations have everything to do with like weight loss and not actual health. And I was just having a hard time conveying that to my clients. So that was part of it. And the other part was I heard you on a podcast, I believe, saying that as a coach, we can only take our clients as far as we've taken ourselves. And I have struggled with body image, and I used food to try to control my health and my size. And I knew that I could only take them as far as I've taken myself. So part of me getting into the mentorship was personal level interest. And the other part was because I really wanted to make more impact and have like a ripple effect to the next generation. I'm a mom of 3 kids. My oldest is a daughter, and she is a big part of my why. So that's kind of
so threefold.
Yes.
Threefold. By stopping the generational trauma of dieting, you didn't want her to do what you did because your mom did it, yourself and your client. I'm curious, when you heard me say, like, you can only take your client as far as you've taken yourself, I'm just curious, did you take it as, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong? Or it got you productively curious?
I think at that moment, the way I interpreted it as I'm not a good enough coach.
Okay.
So I got but not in a way that like, okay, that's it, I failed. I just kind of got curious, like, how can I improve so I can better serve? Because I know that I have like lots to give, right?
You have a lot of value to share. So now that you look back, where do you see the truth in that statement from me? That you could only take your client as far as you've taken yourself. How did you see that unfold into a truth version for you?
So I realized that I had a lot of shame around my body. And anytime the body came up in practice, right? Because the first thing people think is like, they gain weight, my hormones, right? And it's not necessarily the case, but I couldn't have the proper conversation because I was also triggered.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a
Yeah.
lot of work that had to be done, a lot of unraveling, a lot of sitting with my emotions, riding the wave. I remember the first time you told me sit with your shame, I was like, what the F does that mean?
I remember that.
I was like, how do I do that? Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? My mind went
Where's the
completely.
protocol?
Yes, exactly.
And it's such a simple thing now that you know, it's like so simple.
Yeah.
But it was unknown. It was the unknown territory. It's like when you tell people that you have hunger, but you've always controlled food from a portion perspective, like hunger, what is that? Like, I understand technically, but how does it feel in my body?
Yeah. And for me, the part of the mentorship of like coming to terms with hunger, satiation, and pleasure, I was so disconnected. I never felt hungry and I never felt full. I was just like, I just ate because I knew I should.
Yeah.
That's it. Right. So now it's like I can actually taste food and enjoy food. And I love teaching that to clients as well, and like giving them the permission to eat the things that they love and like stay connected with their culture. Because a lot of these health and wellness recommendations are quote unquote like white woman recommendations, and you become so disconnected from your culture.
Have you reconnected with your culture?
I have.
Yeah.
And it's like all of the foods that are nostalgic, I can actually like eat, and the community and like the gathering. I have a story to share. My husband surprised me for my birthday to a new restaurant downtown Toronto. It's a Lebanese fine dining cuisine. And I was able to allow him to surprise me, to pick the restaurant, to not know the menu, to also allow the owner to pick the food and like be completely comfortable and confident with that. And I was able to enjoy every bite and listen to my hunger and satisfaction and take the leftovers home. And it was a great experience.
And it would have not been possible before.
It would not have been. Like maybe I would have eaten, but I would have felt uncomfortable the whole time. And I would have felt so much guilt for eating off plan afterwards and all the things that come with that. Yeah.
As you were sharing, I had goosebumps everywhere. Like this is a profound story for you to, and I know for you to experience it is profound as well. So do you, when you look back at why you felt uncomfortable coaching your client, you created, in fact, that stuckness with your client because you weren't ready to deal with your own stuff.
Yeah.
It was a self-defense mechanism in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. You could say that. Definitely.
I truly believe that, like not just for you, for everybody. When we are in the profession of helping others and we get stuck for our own safety. It's because we can't take people further than what we have taken ourselves because that's highly unsafe for us.
Yeah.
Right? Until it's safe for us to go there, we can't take anybody there.
That is 100% true. I can relate to that. Yeah.
Okay. So nutritionists, hormonal, work with women, get stuck on certain topic with coaching with women. Mm-hmm. What has changed today? Now that you have learned a non-diet approach and you've integrated it within you and in your business and your practice, I'm assuming, what has changed for you?
What has changed is that I can hold so much more space and compassion for my clients and ask them questions that get them really curious and to see things in a different way, and to just like understand that their criticalness and their judgmental thoughts and their like unmanaged brain is such a huge stress that can be contributing to their hormonal imbalances, and that we don't need to restrict anything necessarily, right? But just like reconnect with their body and their food and their life and slow down. So many things, but like that's the main thing.
Do you have a particular example of how you would have addressed something before and how you're addressing it now, like to make it concrete for people listening?
Yes. So previously I would have run some testing. So I do still use testing. I would
Hormonal
have,
testing.
yeah. So I use the Dutch test. I use an HTMA test. Those are my two favorite
Yeah.
tests. And I would have looked at the data, taken an intake, and then written a protocol and said, like, do this.
And the protocol would have been what for people listening?
It would have been diet recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, supplement recommendations. Whereas now we still do the testing and we still do the interpretation, but we connect to stress and we look at the relationship with food and body and we work on those things, because in order to like receive the nutrition, let's say, from our food, we have to fully be in our body to be able to like receive it and digest it and absorb it. And so if you're like eating something, but you have like these thoughts around it, like you could be eating like the most nutrient dense thing and it could be doing nothing for you because of your thoughts. And the other thing is like, if you don't feel safe in your body, again, your nervous system is going to be dysregulated. And that's going to impact your healing journey as well, right? So creating safety in the body and reconnecting with the body is a huge piece of my practice now.
So what I hear you say, when people say being safe in your body, for people listening, that means literally being safe, being in your body, looking at your body as it is. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. I think part of it is that, especially as women, we have been disconnected and like our bodies have been medicalized and it needs to be outsourced. Like there's always someone that knows better than you about your body. And so breaking all that down and coming back to like, you are the expert of your body and you know what you need and what you want, and taking that power back can be so powerful.
What kind of changes do you see in your client today from before? Like, how is the transformation has changed?
I see my clients so much more confident in their body and around food, trusting their bodies more, and just being able to do things from a place of acceptance and respect rather than trying to fix and change themselves because of self-loathing, essentially. So much more compassion. If I had to choose one word, it's compassion. So much more compassionate to themselves.
That is like juicy, because that's what we need.
Yeah.
No matter which illness or hormonal dysregulation we have, there is no way to come to a regulated state or a healed state from a place of self-hatred and self-loathing.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. You have to have acceptance and compassion for what is in order to perhaps change it. And even if you don't change it, if you've accepted it, then it's okay.
Yes. I think every single symptom in the body is your body trying to talk to you. And if we just go and suppress it, again, it's reinforcing that disconnection. What is your body trying to tell you? And I truly believe that every symptom is related to an emotional sort of conflict.
Tell us more about that.
So I've been researching a little bit something called German New Medicine, and it was created by someone named Dr. Hammer. He's since passed away, but there's 5 biological laws, and one of them is that based on your subjective perspective of an event, you have a conflict shock, essentially. And if it's a small conflict, then it's like a small symptom. And if it's a massive conflict, then it's like disease. And so right away, it impacts your brain, your psyche, and an organ. And so he studied the brain scans of all his cancer patients, and there were like rings essentially, and he connected where it would affect the organ. And so essentially, the big takeaway is that nothing in the body is happening by mistake. And once we resolve the conflict, the symptoms naturally go away. Connecting to the body and connecting to the emotions is so powerful. And then again, in the wellness space, we're always talking about prevention, prevention, prevention. We don't know what's going to happen to us. You can't necessarily prevent anything, but understanding life from this perspective gives you so much power that, like, okay, I need to address my thoughts around something that's happened. Otherwise, there's a good chance that this may arise or something may arise. And we might not know what's going to arise, but once a symptom arises, we can kind of refer back to what is that symptom in this place referring to, the conflict. Can we connect the dots? Can we shift our perspective on it? So powerful.
Yeah. It is so powerful, because I had a conversation last week with a chronic pain specialist, Dr. Andrea Moore, who deals with general chronic pain, from knee pain to fibromyalgia. And she quickly realized there was no research showing that pain was something bad. Pain is just a message from the body. It's in alignment to what you're saying. And I have a history of chronic pain because of scoliosis and different things in my spine. And what I was telling her is that what you're explaining is what I came to realize through creating the Going to Beyond the Food method.
Yes.
I came to realize that she was working on their island over there and came to realize that and did a PhD on that. I'm like, oh, I figured that out over 7 years. My pain is not gone away, but because I can think differently and I believe differently, I have a different relationship emotionally to that pain, and the pain is less. It's not gone away, but I live my life happily with the pain.
Yes. So powerful.
And I want to be careful to say, like, it's not because you change your thought, you change your emotion, that your disease will go away. You may continue to be sick, but the way you're going to live your life with that disease will be completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. And just realizing what the emotion it's connected to. There is, in certain instances, the pain or the symptom may go away, because very often the symptom is the healing.
Can we talk about perimenopause and sleep?
Perimenopause and sleep? Yeah, sure.
Because I'm into it. I'm into it. And when it started, I saw that as a problem. It was a problem that I would wake up at 1 and not go to bed till 3. And I made it the problem that I took all the supplements, I did all the thing, and I did the breath work, and I did the thing. And when I came around the corner to accept that my sleep pattern had changed, my sleep pattern got better.
Yes. Yeah. I have a lot of women that struggle with sleep as well. And our thoughts about sleep are going to impact the whole day and the trust in our body. So one thing I try to work on as an intentional thought is, I trust that I will get enough sleep, or enough that I trust that I'll get the sleep that I need to function properly.
Yes.
And so it creates so much more calmness and safety, and it kind of dissipates on its own usually.
Yeah. I still don't sleep 8 hours solid, without interruption, I think. But what I've learned is that as you get older, this ideology that you're supposed to sleep 8 hours from bottom to end doesn't exist. It's not like what's supposed to happen anyway. You're supposed to sleep interrupted, and that is as resting as 8 hours in a row was. Yeah. But the wellness brings that perfection thing, everything's got to be perfect. I got to sleep 8 hours in a row interrupted. But what if it wasn't?
Yeah. And there's lots of things from the wellness space that we can work on in conjunction, but the body is the boss, right? We have to listen to your body, and we have to trust that it's whatever it's going through is for a reason, and to be patient with it. So sometimes we have this timeline, especially when you work with a professional, okay, I'm coming to you for sleep and it needs to be fixed in 3 months. Otherwise it's a failure. What if we took away the timeline and trusted it'll happen? And
And
so
we're going
that's
to
a
learn a whole bunch
powerful,
of stuff about you in the
yeah,
meantime.
yeah. That's such a powerful shift for clients as well. Okay.
So I hear you talk about thoughts and emotion in the German medicine, which is all tied up to this. Before learning the non-diet approach and the coaching framework, were you talking about thoughts and emotion before, or that's new over the last 6 months in your practice?
No, that's new. That's completely new.
Oh.
That's completely new. It was more of like, it's interesting because the conventional world and the holistic world say that they're very different, but they're very similar in a sense that like one is suppressing symptoms with medication and the other one is suppressing symptoms with supplements.
Oh, that's profound. Let's all take a breather on that. It's
right?
suppressing in either way.
In
Totally
either
true.
way. And neither one of, like, there are some practitioners that are trying to get to the root cause, for example, because that can really help with how you help a client. But for the most part, it's just, we're just suppressing everything and it's not getting to the root.
And it's, as you're saying that, it's well-powered on both way.
Yes.
Like if you look at habits, habit formation, the traditional ways about using willpower and discipline. And when we give a meal plan to our client, guess what? It's not far from willpower and discipline. They're not going to eat in that meal plan for the rest of their life. They're going to do it in hope they don't have to do it later.
Yeah. And realistically speaking, like I'm working mainly with moms or pregnant women or like postpartum. Who has time to follow a meal plan, right? And like, what if you don't even like these foods or it's not part of your culture? I want to empower you to still be able to eat the things that you love and make peace with food. And then eventually we talk about intentional nutrition.
So it's really interesting because people think when you come to the non-diet approach, you stop talking about food and eating.
Yeah.
It's not true.
No.
You talk about it as much, but in a completely different way.
Yeah. In a more compassionate way and trusting your body around food frees up so much mental space that you are then able to actually be present in your life.
And be present to your body.
And be present in your body. Yeah. Yeah.
What has it changed? You talked about your daughter earlier. It's one daughter, two sons. Yeah. How did it change your motherhood or your family units?
My family unit. So for me, she's 11 and a half now. It was about 7. She was 7 years old. And when I realized that there was a problem, it was snack time. And I was pulling out dates and we dipped them in tahini as a snack. And she had just started to learn how to read. And she saw the box of dates and she saw sugar, 27 grams. And she said, "Oh, Mama, there's 27 grams of sugar in that." And I said, "Yeah, but it's natural sugar." And she had fear in her eyes. And that was like, I remember feeling like an adrenaline rush and like the blood almost sink from my face. And I realized like, oh my gosh, I've done this. Like now we need to, unravel it all. And at the same time, I was in nutrition school and I had taken a food prep course. And very nonchalantly, the instructor had said, "What's your relationship to food?" And I was like, I feel really guilty when I eat at restaurants because I know I can make it healthier at home, thinking it was like not an issue. And she was like, "Oh, you should really never feel guilty when you're eating food." And it just got me curious. So that and this kind of brought me to this like moment, this like rock bottom moment of like, okay, this needs to change. Something needs to change. So what did we end up doing from there? I started listening to podcasts and reading books and looking at different opinions. My social media feed, I started looking for different perspectives. And one thing I think I heard, maybe it was you or someone else, but it was on a podcast and it said to introduce all of these demonized foods in a playful way and stop calling them good or bad, And so what we started doing is we started having a family movie night, and all the foods that we had restricted or demonized, we started bringing back in and like having them once a week so that they could make peace with food, these things. Because for my daughter, it was, she would, let's say it was a chip, she would sit and nibble on it for like half an hour, just hoping for it not to end. Right. And whereas my son, he would scarf as much as he could. You know, it affects boys too.
Because it'll never happen again, right?
Because he doesn't know the next time it's going to happen, right? And like, I was doing the best that I could at the time, and I have complete like compassion for myself, like, and it was a big lesson.
Well, you can only take your children as far as you've taken yourself.
Exactly. That is 100% true. So as a family, we worked on our relationship with food, and it's like now, you know, they can go to a birthday party. If they've just eaten food and they're not hungry, they don't care about the pizza. They don't care about the cake. They can eat half of a piece of cake and leave it. Whereas oftentimes when food is restricted or they're shamed for eating, it's like they're going to eat that whole piece of cake, even though it's going to make them feel bad.
And then they're going to have the sugar high, right?
Yeah, which is a total, like, I don't know. That's another podcast all about sugar.
Well, that would be that would be perfect for mom. But has that impacted because you work with women, obviously, that have had or are having children. So that must be a whole new angle for you to coach and teach on.
Yeah. So the topic, fear and stress around food for their children, comes up in conversation a lot. Because a lot of women, a lot of mothers stress about their kids. And that stress, again, is stress. It can impact your hormones too. Any stress can impact your hormones. And so oftentimes we talk about that. And as they make peace with food, it impacts their family as well.
Yeah.
As they start to unlearn all the wellness culture, diet infused information, the whole family benefits.
I know you do webinar, but that could be a great webinar for you. Have you thought about that?
I actually haven't thought it. That is a good one.
Like hormones and like family or sugar thing for your family.
Yes.
Yeah, write this down. So now that we're into business, we're talking about webinar. Has learning about thoughts and feelings and trusting your body, has that created any change in the way you do or think or feel about business?
Oh, that's a good question. I definitely trust myself more, so much more. I remember you teaching about 10 steps to 10K and realizing how it was so infused with diet culture. And I'm like, that's why I always resist it. Because every time I would see a post like that, I would get angry and I'd be like, no, F this, I'm not doing that. And I needed to do it my way. It has to be my way. I have a very different way of doing business. And at first I used to feel a lot of shame and guilt because I wasn't following the rules. Yeah. Whereas now it's like, no, this feels safe and I feel good. At the same time, I'm working on my thoughts and creating more safety so I can expose myself to certain things. But it makes so much sense now.
Yeah, well, when we don't trust ourselves with food, why would we trust ourselves with business decision?
Yes.
Right? We don't trust ourselves with food decision. That means we don't have the skill to trust ourselves with business decision. Yeah. Like it's not two different worlds, FYI. They're the same world. It's self-trust.
Self-trust, yeah, 100%. Before it was like I'd make an investment and I'd second guess myself. Right. I'd even like work with a client and then second guess myself. Mm-hmm. So there was so much like second guessing and like stressing and worrying. Whereas now it's like, I feel confident in what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I trust that nothing is a failure, quote unquote, but it's just a lesson learned. And how can we grow from this?
Yeah, you're going to have your back no matter what, even if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we say having our back, the way we don't have our back most of the time is in our mind. We beat the shit out of ourselves in our mind for days and days and days and days.
Yes.
But once you learn to manage your mind, that part is no longer there. So even if you make a mistake, but you don't have the drama in your head as to why you're so bad for making that mistake, that goes away. Then you're just left, okay, what can we learn from this?
Yeah. And like for me, I'm not at the place where like I don't ever have these thoughts, but I can meet them with compassion.
Yes.
I think for a long time, I thought that the goal was to never have any bad or critical or judgmental thoughts. And when I did, I was then judging those thoughts
And creating more.
And creating more. But you very compassionately reminded me that it's all part of the human experience, and we can't just erase it all.
No. And when I said we manage our mind, when I say we manage our mind, doesn't mean we don't have the thought. It's just they're just a string of words passing through our brain. We don't attach to them. We don't entertain them to create more. We're just like, oh, we're having a thought.
Like a cloud passing by.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, business became simpler?
Yes, much more simple. And I'm not creating more drama and more hardness. It was like the success needed to be achieved by working really hard.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like normalize like getting paid in full by a client while I'm at the park with my kids.
I know.
You know, it's like it can be that easy. And it's just
and not be guilty about easy.
Yes, and not be guilty about easy. Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is sometimes we finally get to the easy place, but now we guilt about how easy it is. We shame ourselves for it, so we'll go right back to not having anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So
anything else you want to, that comes out to your mind that has changed in your life, business, practice, that you want to highlight?
I think
proud of.
Yeah, I think one thing that I struggled with, and that I feel like a lot of people coming into this non-diet space might struggle with as well. I came from a very restrictive, critical background. And then I swung the pendulum completely the other way to like intuitive eating and like body love, quote unquote. And it doesn't have to be black or white. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Find your gray and have your back. That's what I would want to give out.
Yeah, and that's what you did also in your practice.
Yeah.
Right? So often I see professionals come into the non-diet approach and they take their beautiful work they were doing. They're like, no, I have to teach intuitive eating now. No! Be an hormone specialist, be a therapist, but do it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Continue to put your magic in the world. Don't stop it to everybody becomes an intuitive eating coach. No. Be the place where we can go for hormone and not be served wellness culture and diet culture.
Yeah, because it goes so much beyond the food. Like I've recommended the mentorship to a few friends that have nothing to do with therapy or psychology or nutrition or anything, but they work with women. And I'm like,
yes,
this is at the root of everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're a woman in a North American modern culture, guaranteed your work is impacted by diet culture and patriarchy. Guaranteed.
Yes. Yeah.
Any type of leadership, it's impacted by that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was lovely.
We'll put your website and your Instagram in the show note, but can you tell us where we can find you or how people work with you, how you help people?
So I hang out on Instagram a lot. My handle is @thatgreenglow. If you send me a message, I will respond. And I work with clients in a very intimate one-to-one container over the course of 6 months. And we do some functional testing and we help you improve your relationship with food and your body. And the goal is for you, again, to feel confident and safe in your body and have less of these types of symptoms, and for it to ripple. As a mother, if you understand your hormones and how your body functions, imagine the gift that you can give to your daughter to trust her body and to know the changes that she's going through are not necessarily problematic. 99% of the
being a
time. It's just part of being a woman, and certain symptoms, how can we support the body so that they kind of go?
Yeah. And again, there's not a lot of resources for people who want to be, I'm not going to use the word treated, but helped without being sort of diet culture and wellness culture. You're one of those persons who can help with hormones without serving up wellness culture and diet culture. So we'll go and see you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Nadine.
Thank you so much.
Ready to shed diet culture from your practice and help more clients do the same? Awesome. We've got 3 resources to get you started. Simply go to stephaniedodier.com/pro series, all in one word, and access our 3 free training classes that are currently available. We also have a free PDF guide to intuitive eating, an article about the non-diet approach. We also offer a variety of paid programs throughout the year to support you in your journey to undiet your coaching practice. Join us at stephaniedodier.com/pro series, and I'll see you on the other side.